Hey, this is Stephen White. I am just testing. Hey, this is Stephen White. I am just testing. Hey, this is Stephen White. I am just testing. Hey, this is Stephen White. I am just testing.
Here. Here. Councilman Steve White. Stephen White.
He is.
Councilwoman Debbie Young. Councilman Herb Curtis. City Manager Nate Stansberry.
Present.
City Attorney Brian Bailey. Chief Mike Posey.
Here.
Chief Jimmy Settle.
Here.
Street Commissioner Mike Starrett.
Here.
Building Code Zoning Enforcement Officer Marty Lewis.
Here.
Sanitary Director Dee Evans.
She's excused with some family matters.
Finance Director Joe Solberg.
Here.
Okay, next on the agenda are the oaths of office for the I, Kim Harrison Edwards,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
and the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of serving
of serving
as an elected official
as an elected official
for the city of Weston,
for the city of Weston
City Council as mayor,
City Council as mayor,
to the best of my skill
to the best of my skill
and judgment.
and judgment. So help me God. Thank you, Judy. Okay, next we'll swear in Ward 1. Counselor Sherry Rogers. Raise your right hand. I, Sherry Rogers, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of West Virginia and the Constitution of the State of West Virginia. And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of serving as an elected official, the duties of serving as an elected official for the city of Weston, City Council for Ward 1, City Council for Ward 1, to the best of my skill and judgment, so help me God, so help me God. Thank you. Hey, Debbie. I, Debbie Gum,
I, Debbie Gum,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
and the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of serving as an elected official
the duties of serving as an elected official
for the city of Weston,
for the city of Weston,
City Council for Ward 3,
City Council for Ward 3,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, Debbie. I heard.
Just a little slower.
I have
I hope first.
do solemnly swear
Solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
the Constitution of the State of West Virginia,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of serving as an elected official
the duties of serving as an elected official
for the city of Weston,
for the city of Weston,
City Council for Ward 4,
City Council,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
best of my skill and judgment,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. Okay, and has Councilman White been sworn in? Okay. Okay. And next we hear from the visitors section, if anyone signed in to speak. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys. My name's Kenny Hall. The reason I'm here today, I've spoke with Nate there a few days ago. I'm the owner of Hall Construction and also own a company by the name of Hall of Fame Rental Properties. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build some nice apartments in Weston to improve the city of Weston compared to what rental state we have now. Most of the rentals in this town are below par. And I've recently purchased several properties in the hopes to begin improving Weston. Plan on breaking ground on the most recent purchase in November, and the property that I bought has an issue that I'm trying to get sorted out, which is why I spoke with Nate. Through looking at the digital courthouse, it seems that property I purchased has right-of-way easements below, through the middle, and above my property. The city of Weston is the owners of the property. So my goal is, I'm hoping to come to an agreement with you guys on either selling the road to me or having some form of agreement where I can take over ownership of the road. But for the issue of my property corners and the property lines that are shown on the tax maps, your guys' road is not where it should be. That's what's actually there. So I have a right of way on that. It's a 40-foot right of way, but to improve that road where it lies on the ground now would be trespassing on the city of Weston's property. It actually goes through some other properties. It's not where it should be. So I don't know how I can improve that road to access my buildings without trespassing. So I don't know the best way of going about it. I guess this is my first step, second step, I guess, of trying to come to a solution with you guys. I'm open to suggestions or any type of information you can give me in any way. But just remember, my main goal here is I've got 3 kids. They're young. They're going to be, will live their entire childhood here in Weston. I want Weston to be better than it is now when they're, of age. They're going to be going to school here. And I just, like I said, there's plenty of opportunity in Weston to make it better than it is. And I have no doubt that some nicer living quarters was definitely a good start.
So are you saying that the city of Weston owns actual real estate, or they have an easement or right of way through or alongside property that you have?
Yes,
that you
ma'am.
purchased?
So the property as shown on Digital Courthouse is the owner was the City of Weston Development Authority the Development Authority of Weston / City of Weston is the owner of the property. And it looks to be, the property looks to have been subdivided. It was one chunk at one time, like a 40-acre lot or something, divided into several small lots. I'm assuming small lots and roads, which I'm assuming was to be for housing at one point in time. This was decades ago.
Yeah.
So it never happened. And now it's just grown up. 21 pieces of property come up for sale, and I bought all 21 of them. There's the city of Weston that still owns the road and about 25 like quarter-acre lots. So I don't know the exact acreages or the exact numbers, but it's a good chunk of property that's basically just sitting there doing nothing. And I want to honor the law and not cross or damage or improve or do anything to property that I don't actually own, because this project is happening. This isn't like it's a hope and a prayer. It's come this fall it will begin. So
This is the property you're talking about that's going to break ground November.
yes, ma'am. And this is just outside the city limits, right on the edge. So the city limit line actually crosses right at the edge of my property.
So is this an alley or an actual street?
Neither. It is a proposed 40-foot right of way.
I understand.
And my property's bounds tie into that right of way.
Okay.
But if you go to the ground and you find the corners of my property, and the edge of the right of way, there's about a 60-foot gap of land that's not owned by anybody. So the road's not where it should be. So the road's actually a little further over onto the city of Weston's property. And if I did anything to that road, I look at it as I'm encroaching on the city of Weston without permission.
I asked Kenny to come. I don't know if it's coming through or not, is it?
Yeah.
I asked Kenny to come because this is that Weston Development Authority property that we inherited when they mothballed or whatever you want to call them. And so there's a lot of questions there about why we have that property, how we have that property, are there covenants on the property? And I think that when it comes to moving or selling, because that was kind of the conversation we had a little bit, with the city be willing to trade property and things of that nature. This gets into that whole, what can the city do? If we dispose of property, are we at a public auction, where we can't really deal directly with somebody like that? Are we talking about a development authority or a land use agency or something of that nature? And so I just asked Kenny to come here to brief you on his intentions and the conversation we had. And hopefully, I said, I think the best case scenario tonight is for you guys to tell Brian and I to do our homework and see where those properties stand and try to come back to you all with some kind of recommendation on how we can move forward possibly with those properties and working with Kenny. But it's just kind of, the more we looked at it, Brian got back today and we looked at it a little bit today, and there may be some deed covenants that are involved there with the original transfer of that property to us. In the case of that's maybe somebody donated it for Parks and Rec use, things of that nature. And so we've just got a lot of homework to do, and we don't have a whole lot of history of those files or anything that we could just pull up. So wanted to brief council on his intentions, and then also say, if you want to have a partnership or you want to help work with Kenny on this project, it'll be very difficult, I think, at first glance for council to be able to do those things outside of having some kind of agency or authority, and want to kind of bring that to your attention.
Have you spoken with the assessor about the intended use of that property that the city?
At one point we had a conversation, and I think it's labeled as a bird sanctuary or something like that right now. And I don't think certain portions we pay taxes on, certain portions we haven't. And so that's one of the questions that we were talking about today when we kind of just did a cursory deed research of our segment, is what are we allowed and what are we not allowed to do. That was that same property. We had the question about the state road sign shop. The assessor's map shows that as city of Weston property, where state road has indicated that that's never been the case, and nor is it the case now. So there's a lot of things there. I think we just have questions about that transaction and what really occurred, what property was transferred, those kinds of things. So like I said, I asked Kenny to come to kind of put a face to that question, and then hopefully get from you guys an authorization to start digging into that and get back to you and work with Kenny a little bit on that situation.
Well, I think we need to get that cleared up. And
Yep.
November will be here before you know it.
Right.
Thoughts from the rest?
Thank you for trying to make things better for our community.
Thank you.
We'll take it. Yeah.
That information report back. to us.
Yep.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. May have an emergency.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Mhm.
I may.
Okay. Okay, you have the minutes in your packet from the regular session, 2 special sessions, and a work session. If you've had a chance to look those over. Okay, if there are no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as distributed.
I move that we to accept the minutes of the regular session and all special sessions of
And work session. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Is there a second? It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, reports of city boards, commissions, and outside agencies. We do have a cemetery board meeting, Monday, the 10th at 9 a.m. Landmarks next Thursday at 5. The planning commission will meet next Wednesday, the 12th at 4 p.m. And we'll be continuing the work of the strategic plan, or the comprehensive plan rather. Board of Parks and Rec, next meeting, July 21st. We also still need 2 people to serve on that committee. The EDA meeting, Wednesday, July 26th. It's changed, isn't it? Is it the 19th?
What is that? Oh, yeah.
The EDA meeting. Okay.
No,
Zoning
he changed it and
Appeals,
didn't
the
change.
11th, Code Appeals, the 20th. And there's a neighborhood watch meeting listed for July 18th, but I thought they don't meet until September. Is that right? Are they having one?
I think it's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's September. And Solid Waste Authority, July 19th.
That meeting's actually been rescheduled for Thursday, I think.
Okay.
Maybe I got my dates wrong. We'll see. Sometime this month we're meeting in Jane Load.
And there is also one position available on the cemetery board. And sanitary board D isn't here. Do you have anything, Nate?
In regards to,
The sanitary board?
so all the report.
Yeah,
Well, I think we've got word today, right, that our application,
big news.
yeah, from our sludge application was approved through IJDC.
The final approval.
Okay, and I haven't seen any kind of, that's just through the grapevine, so I don't know if there's any kind of final determinations made, but our application was submitted to include $100,000 from city, the sanitary board city auspices, and then a $600,000 roughly loan. And then the rest was to be funded through grants and loan forgiveness measures, from what I recall. So it's about $3.2 million project. So that has made it through. You know, I don't think my words of the mayor were, I don't think we could afford to build it for $700,000 ourselves. So I think we're on the right track there. Our proposed method is a drying bed with a wedge wire component, which isn't a typical drying bed with sand. It'll be a metal grate that will allow the sludge to dry on top of it and be able to be scraped off with a front loader or skid steer or something of that nature. So we'll keep the labor requirements pretty low for the staff there. So that was good news for them for sure.
And this was an idea that you had researched originally, and Bob Bragg looked into it further. And it was one of 6 options that we could have gone for.
Right.
And that was the one that was chosen, and thankfully it was accepted. Now we have passed phase 1 of the review for a congressional earmark, which would be for basically the same purpose. And I asked about that today. What happens since we were approved for the IJDC monies? What happens if we get approved through the final phase for the earmark? And Dee said that she had spoken with Region 7 about that, and that there are other costs associated with that we could use those monies for, that would be allowable, according to what she was told. So that's good news too.
Yeah. And I'll just add a few more things that I know from the top of my head. The station at the corner there and on North River, heading towards Shady Brook, works continued on that. I think they've got all the electrical panels moved over. They attempted last week to suck out the pump station. It's 30 feet deep, so it's like at the limit of what a pump truck can vacuum. And so they weren't successful in getting enough flow off of the pump station. So we're going to try to figure out a way to reduce the flow in, while, you know, we kind of have to wait till lower flow conditions to be able to suck that out, but they're trying to do that quickly. And then our Brad Montgomery issue, I'm supposed to be down there this week, or give him a call tomorrow to see if I can set up a time the rest of this week to get down there and try to meet with them and figure a way forward on fixing his issues as well. So those are the things keeping us busy on that side of the operation.
And I had the citizen who was talking about the G-Lick, the problem from the stormwater, the sewage drain out there.
Okay.
I guess maybe sanitary board or street department fixed that.
Okay.
And they were highly complimentary.
Oh, great. Good job.
Yeah. Okay, does anyone have any questions about sanitary board? Okay. Next, we'll move on to finance report.
All right. Your report is in the packet there. Because of the timing of the end of the month and the meeting, I did have to run that report before the end of the month, so I'm gonna have another report to you probably by the end of this week with year-end financial numbers. And with that report, we'll know what the carryover number is. So just be aware that later this month, once we know what the carryover number is, we'll need to get together again to talk about our first budget revision. I think the first one is going to be due June 15th. Is that right, Nate?
For coal
For
severance.
coal severance. So we're going to want to get together. As soon as we know about that, we can set a date to get together to talk about those first revisions, and we'll know what we're up against in the new year. And then the one request I have for you is to move, is it 150, Judy? Is that right? To move $150 from general fund to the vacant structures fund.
Okay, is there a motion to transfer the $150 from general fund to vacant structures?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Is that all, Joe?
I think so.
Any questions for Joe?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, the street department report.
We lost the nine out of the probably around 7 days ago. Probably like right now. No, I'm fine. Probably about $30 million. Would have cost us 9,000 if I hadn't kind of. Behind me. Working our work streams. And the other thing I want to say is I'm in the country that I'm fireworks. Our guys work very well. They work.
Everything was nice and picked up. You couldn't tell anything that even happened there. It looked good.
You guys had a presence all evening. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all of your, and I know there was a lot of prep work too for the street department. Stage looked really nice.
Have we ordered the curb painting machine yet?
That has not happened, but it's coming.
Okay, very good.
One other thing is, they were not finally today. Fine. We've got. It's time. Part of that was their data, the other part of rights news. I went home today, and I've got the Weston before. There, you see one quarter here, I got it here. 1/3, I think.
Thank you.
That'll look nice.
Anything else for Mike?
I'll just add, it seems like it's been 2 months, but the street department also helped out with the Cart Festival.
Yeah.
They've helped out with all the summer concert series, and we haven't had any complaints from those guys. It's all their efforts are just really appreciated across all of our events. They're the arms and legs of the city, and they prove it time and time again. They've done a great job.
And the flowers look beautiful. Thank you. I know.
Okay, next, police department.
Thank you for your help with the events. You've helped with events too. Appreciate it.
Great. Busy month.
Very. Gotta love those full moons, don't you?
Questions for Chief Tracy? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to fire department report.
I think we had more people at the Independence Day celebration than what we did last year. What do you think? It was. Yes, true. I've heard a lot of positive comments on the firework display, how nice it was.
Except for the parade marshal.
Appreciate all your hard work from your department. I know it was a lot of,
That was all very nice.
thank you. The parade was nice. Summertime. Kids are out of school, right?
Where you have on your report attended safe sites meeting, is that the one that was started up again through the county? Okay.
Hmm.
Questions for Chief Settle? Thank you. Okay, building code zoning report.
Did Crystal talk with you from the health department? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you for getting the group together to work on the Arnold Cemetery. That was nice. Well, you certainly followed through and led the charge. I appreciate it. Okay. On Saturday?
Questions for Marty?
Thank you, Marty.
City attorney's report.
Excuse me. Generally, not, I mean, nothing that we haven't talked about yet today. I think we're moving along fairly well at municipal court, still trying to get some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of teeth to it, or some kind of environment where people know that the municipal court's there, and when you get cited for breaking an ordinance, you got to show up and you got to go through the court process. So I think we're slowly getting there, to be honest with you. I think we're doing all right. Other than that, that's all. I'll talk a little bit on the opioid stuff when we get to it, though. Yeah, we'll have to pick a day. That's a dirty
Yeah.
word, Nate. That's a dirty word.
For everybody.
We'll find it. Yeah, we'll have to get back on the track for that.
Okay.
I don't think we're not that far away from getting it done, but it's something we got to sit down and get.
I'm gonna just add to that conversation a little bit. We need to really make that a priority, and I think everybody understands that. But we've just ran in just in the last month with Chief Posey and I with fireworks and noise disturbances and all other stuff. You bring people in to explain to them what the law is, and you have to say, well, this is the law from 1972, which is technically the law in Weston right now. But here's our draft law that helps you understand where to find it a little bit easier. And you lay those out for people, and they're like, what? And then you have all the ordinances that were passed since 1972, which are technically the law. So it's just creating confusion, and people have been very gracious towards us. The citizens have been very gracious, but it's something we need to get wrapped up and be able to present to them, I think, sooner than later. Because we're running
Hopefully they
those.
Understand that it's something we have been diligently.
Yeah, and I
working
think
on.
that's been communicated to them. Don't misunderstand, but it just seems like, and I think it's a good thing. For a year and a half, nobody ever came in and wanted to know what the law was, because I think they thought there wasn't any law in Weston. And now we seem to be getting a lot of inquiries about our ordinances and where we stand, which is the right questions. And so I'm excited. I think that the police are excited to have a law book that we can just flip through and point to it and say, this is what it is. And everybody has a good understanding. So that's been coming up more often than not lately.
One question.
Sure.
Company that's up there with our ordinances. Do we see a lot of issues where the 1970 ordinances that it's not even higher than nowadays?
No, it's just that we have not adopted, they created a new code for us, right? But we've never passed that new code. So when somebody says, what's the law today? You got to flip to 1972 and say, here's what the law was in 72. Then all the ordinances that have been passed since 72 to now that have not been incorporated in that code. They're like another layer on top of that, right? So you make sure if we've changed the barking dog ordinance since 1972, that's actually the effective barking dog. So it's hard. It's a hard thing to explain. And so they did do that. And that's why I print them off the new copy, because when we hired that company, they've created a new code that's incorporated everything into it. That's going to be the new code, but it's not the established law right now. It's just something I'm like, here's where you can look and see what ordinance is the reference. And if you really want to see it, we can give you a copy.
And maybe drilling down a little bit more, when you open our nice, wonderful leather bound 1972 code and you want to see barking dogs or whatever, you look at section, and I'm just making this up, 11-4. And in the years since 1972, all kinds of different ordinances have been passed. And what's happening, or what has happened, and this is how American legal operates. You take all your code and all your ordinances and they slap it together. And when you look up the barking dog ordinance, it's not 11-4 anymore. It's section 92.013. And so when we cite to the barking dog ordinance or whatever ordinance, we can't cite to 92.034 because that particular form of the law or form of the code hasn't been officially adopted yet. So we still have to cite to 11-4. And that's a big part of this. The code, the law is still the same. It's just been, I hate to use the phrase rearranged, but it's just been rearranged into different subsections now. With based on the additions of the new, when I say new, I mean ordinances since 1972, based on the new ordinances that have been passed since 1972.
So then the police show up on site, they don't know what they're going to encounter, right? But then somebody has an infraction, they've got to be able to cite a code or an ordinance that says this is what you violated. And they're sitting there saying, we know you've done something wrong, but we're not quite sure what the number is anymore, right?
Unless we've recently adopted it, correct?
Recently adopted, right? And so they're kind of operating like in the biblical days where you have to have your scroll out of your truck
Right.
to figure out what scroll you're operating off of that day. We're trying to get that. That's why we need to get this wrapped up so they can have that copy with them and be able to find it.
Okay.
Okay. City clerk's report, you have the business license report in your packet. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
And the city manager's report.
All right. Well, you heard from Joseph. Budget's going to be a big topic this month for us. Annexation conversations still continue on. I think Friday we're going to have a conversation with the attorneys at Steptoe. They've made some progress in penetrating the fortress that is Walmart. And so I think we've got a contact there that he's trying to get a future meeting set up with here in the near future. We're gonna, I think, powwow about services and what we can offer and things of that nature at this meeting on Friday. And I will mention that Ray's still here, not to talk bad about him if he's not here, but we've talked about annexation with EDA's property out towards the high school, the old marina building there. And I think at this point, they're going to go out to bid and not consider annexation, but that's something down the line that may be reconsidered as well. So I thought I'd just make mention of that to you. If you hear that out in the community that the city wants to annex the marina, we just had a conversation with the marina about partnering together on the redevelopment of that property in some form or fashion. And then with the potential to annex it if we did partner. And that's really all as far as the conversation has gone. There hasn't been any kind of details or anything like that hammered out. It's just like, yeah, we'd be willing to work together if you'd be willing to annex, in some form or fashion. So that occurred. And we've got the riverfront grant. We've got to get some of that stuff wrapped up this month to get that thing rolling. The Columbia Club, all indications are from our congressional delegation that we're going to get some funding from that. It's looking, I think $750,000 was the number that's been bandied about.
Yes,
I think that's
750,000.
Yep. So towards that project, which would be great. And so I don't think that's been officially announced or decided yet, but I think we've cleared all the hurdles to get that into the next appropriations bill. I talked to the Columbia Club. No, we've just been in stasis right now. They've taken the stained glass windows out and had those worked on. And so those are out. But we've got $40,000 that we've got back from the state that's going to sit in a pot of money that we've got as a grant match back to work on the facade. But we've been really waiting on this determination to see what our next steps are. And so I think at that point, if we have any kind of match requirements or if we want to apply for further funding, we're going to use all of this works in the future to go towards all those match requirements. So we kind of pump the brakes a little bit on that stuff.
This is part of the discussion too, that's going to take place at the town hall meeting on tomorrow evening
Mhm.
at the coffee house at 5:30 PM. The first part of it is going to be on the facade grant program, but then updates will be provided on the Columbia Club.
I have a question about the Columbia Club. Don't
Sure.
we have an architectural drawing for the front facade that we could look at?
We have one that was developed that we weren't real happy with. And so that was one reason we pumped the brakes, is because we spent $3,000 on architecture work that we really weren't real satisfied with. We tried to give some inputs. And so our thought is that was going to be really expensive, what they were recommending to us. And so we wanted to work a little bit further internally and then try to approach a different architect about, can you just draw what we'd like to see you draw instead of kind of giving them carte blanche to design what they'd like to see, that kind of thing.
This is the second architectural
Yep,
firm
this
too
is the
that
second
we
one we
worked
worked
with.
with. Yep. It's been difficult to say the least.
Oh, sure.
So that's why we've kind of waited, and we said, like I said, inflation's happened, all those good things have happened. And so $40,000 isn't going to go very far
Right.
on fixing the facade. So we said, let's keep that powder dry and go a little bit further. And we received the engineering grant, like you all know. So that's our next step, is to kind of sit down, to delineate what we kind of want to see in the front, then approach some architectural firms to get that firmed up better and work on the inside planning. So. Sure. Mhm.
What are the prospects across the other side?
Yeah. I think we've got to engage them, the conversations 2 years ago, and I don't think anything's really necessarily changed, was that if the hospital's construction costs would be driven up by B&O taxes if they were to annex now. And there was some interest there to annex later. But I think that we need to approach them and talk to them about Staunton Drive and the potential of the city maybe taking that over if that's a private road or however that's doing, and try to incorporate the people surrounding that. But that hasn't moved any further than what I'm telling you right now. But it's a conversation needs to happen, honestly. But
Originally, Brian, Nate, and I attended a meeting at the hospital, and I believe Nate, you met with Kevin a couple of times since then.
yeah,
But
not necessarily.
some time ago. And then it was really up in the air about the certificate of need. So, yeah.
And I think the latest article I saw over the weekend, right, they said basically St. Joe's was looking to challenge that
Yes.
as well. So I don't think it's even settled and it doesn't have finality yet. So that's, we need to have a follow-up conversation.
Anything else, Nate?
Hubcap meetings. So we've got our little hubcap team. They're going to be meeting Thursday and Friday next week in Clarksburg for the quarterly. I don't know what they're really called. What are they called? Some kind of,
Team meeting?
yeah,
Yes.
something like that. I call them powwows, but it's the people in our cohort, which are 5 other communities, will be there as well in Clarksburg. So none of our team members will be getting hotel fare or anything like that because we're too close again. But we're going to be bringing team members there. And I think we've got a full slate looking at it today, but there was 7 to 9 spots, and people who attended the last monthly meeting were notified of that, and they've, like, I think Liz and Solaris, you guys are going, aren't you? So that's, yeah, it's varied. Ray, are you going still? Yeah, yeah,
I think Chris Bailey's going from the chamber.
just people who've been to those meetings, honestly. Yeah,
Their name's Krim.
yep, the Crims came.
Oh, yeah.
They said they were going to
Yeah.
go.
So we're kind of, out of all the groups, we didn't have to be very committal. They said, bring as many people as you wanted to. We just need to have a head count for lunch.
I
And
think right now we have 7.
Yeah.
7.
so if there's, I think they said 7 to 9, I think was our original number. So if there's anybody else that's interested and wants to go, more than welcome to, but it's a 2-day affair in Clarksburg.
And the second day of that meeting, the 14th, they're going to talk about the survey that's going to go out to folks. And that's very important as we align ourselves to think of what projects we want funding for. So I'm sure that the team will give good input on that survey.
Will our current goals as a city be included into those goals? Like, or what we're working on, the projects that we're working on? Will this team know about the projects we're working on, like the park, the riverfront park, the Columbia Club, those things?
I mean, I think it's kind of behooves the city representatives over there to communicate that, and
Right.
we've been trying to.
Okay,
But this is the funding that's available. It's not a ton of money or anything like that. It's basically some seed money for small projects.
oh,
And
okay,
so it's not like there's $100,000 on the table. I think that there's a technical assistance portion. It's a little $10,000 maybe or something like that.
Yeah, then was it the placemaking or something?
Yeah.
Hard to.
And there's some smaller pots of money there for just real small projects. So this will be things, I think, like wayfinding signs and artwork and things of that nature. But I think, yeah, anything we want to try to incorporate, those are ideas
Sure.
to shoot to the team and say, these are the things we're working on. But from our experience, it looks like a lot of beautification things have been done in other
Cool.
communities and stuff like that. So whether it's something we're working on currently or something to add to that, I think that's what we're looking at long term.
okay, thank you.
That's all I have this one.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept all of the department reports.
I so move.
It's been moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, update of employee vacation handbook policy section.
I'd like to just make my recommendation to option B, but if there's any questions, I'm more than willing to discuss them. A and B were products, I guess, of the conversation we've had over the last couple of weeks. Option A is to have our old vacation bank that we established with the last policy revision to only incorporate vacation that was 2020 and previous. Option B is to incorporate vacation from 2022 and previous, which would take care of our first responders who were during COVID and things of that nature, couldn't use their vacation. And this also incorporated our discussions from the past month where we moved to have vacation payable upon termination. So that is also incorporated in there.
I think
Well, yeah.
separation is a better word than termination. We don't always terminate.
Huh.
Separation of employment.
Somebody terminates from employment, whether voluntary or involuntary, somebody's terminating it. Yeah.
This is part of the discussion we're talking about, the 40 hours, very much of the 40 hours.
Yeah, and that all remains. The biggest thing is option A makes the old pot where we talked about people who had earned their time before the policy change. It increases, the difference between A and B is that A is at 2020 and previous, B is the 2022 and previous. So it basically says, last year, we're gonna say with the COVID and all that other stuff, with the uncertainty in the policy, everybody who had remaining vacation will have that time credited to their old bank. And then starting this year, we're on that 40-hour, and there's the new policy starts, right? And we're going to make sure that remains that way moving forward.
I think when we're talking about the old policy in COVID, we're talking about the fire department, right?
Yeah, there may be a few police officers in there too.
Police.
I think from a management standpoint, it's a clean break. It's the cleanest way of getting everybody back caught up and being done with all this stuff. And I did add a line at the end that said all vacation balances should be examined and agreed to by the city and manager and employee, and their pay stub updated in the next payroll after passing this policy. So I'm giving the employee an opportunity to come in and say, yeah, we're going to give them the numbers as we calculate them. If you've got some reason to contest that, we're going to work through that together, and then we're going to pick a number after all that conversation, and that's what their pay stub is going to be moving forward. And that's something I'm going to put in writing. I'm going to give to you guys. So if I fall off the cliff, you guys have that to go back on later on.
I appreciate you working on this after the conversation over unused vacation time and trying to come up with the fairest way
Yep,
possible.
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank
So is there a motion to approve the revision to vacation benefits, option A or option B?
you. I'll move to. Move with option B. Vacation benefits.
Okay, is there a second? It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, prioritization of dilapidated buildings.
Thank you.
Before we start, I'll have Marty just give a quick update on the current status of the projects that we've already let and approved for demolition.
We took 208 Bennett down last week. And Monday and Tuesday of this week, we'll have the property in lot 58 George Street and 375 West Second will be coming down. They're going to start that on Monday because they have to be treated as having asbestos and they can only accept it on Tuesday. So we'll see the two more then. Then we'll be ready to move on to bidding out some more.
And so the list that Marty's passed out to you is our next proposed 6 that we're going to try to accomplish to get down. And this list of 6 was generated from 4 structures that are currently in the city that have burned, and then 2 properties that are directly adjacent to those burned properties. We decided to throw those on our list to get those down since we're already there to demolish and wreak mayhem. We might as well get those down while we're there.
Will
And
it
so-
cost less?
Yeah,
Probably cost less
Right.
because of locating equiment. and
yeah. Hopefully
we
there's
get
efficiency.
more
to gain.
cost
Agreed.
effective,
Agreed. And less disruption to the neighborhood and all that good stuff.
right?
Those are the 6, and these will be funded through the grant program. We still have funding from the state, so. Any questions on those? All these properties have been noticed or are still in the process of noticing, in the sense of we've sent the notice out and the owners still are in the appeal period. And we'll work with those owners to see if we can come to some kind of resolution on their status as ownership. If they'll transfer that in the city, we'll continue to offer that same deal to them where we won't put a lien on their property, and if they'll transfer the property to us and that things that nature. Did have a conversation with Mr. Stephen King, who owns the property, the old Roundup Club, this past week. Him and I had multiple phone conversations, and I think we've reached an agreement that we're going to send him some paperwork for him to transfer that property to the city in exchange for the lien. not to be placed upon him. So we'll work on that, try to get that squared away here in the next couple of weeks, probably do a title search and things of that nature. There's one more I wanted to add. Oh, Eric Skinner called me today as well and wanted to discuss his properties on High Street and grass mowing and things of that nature. At one point, we'd signed a letter where he'd waived his right to appeal if we wanted to come in and tear those properties down. And I informed him that we weren't moving forward with tearing his properties down anytime soon, per our previous conversations with council. And so he asked for that, agreement to be nulled or voided or whatnot. And I don't think there's any issue with that. And he expressed that he was going to then proceed to tear those down very shortly. So Brian and I are going to draft up a letter and basically say, our past permission for us to not, for you waiving your right to appeal to the Code Appeals Board, we're going to give you that right back, and allow you to do whatever. But I think at that point, the properties will be back, fully in his control, and he can proceed to demolish those. He doesn't have a demolition permit, I don't think, right now.
It's expired.
It expired, so we'll work with him to try to get those demolition permits and asbestos studies and all that stuff put forward so he can carry out that demolition work. Okay.
Is one of the properties on this list out there that's actually West Second, but listed as Wright Street? Is that 345 right, Marty, or is?
345 and 349 are up on the hill in the narrow part of the 345 is the one that burnt there a couple of weeks ago.
Okay,
I think you might be talking about 240, right? The lot, the gravel
side
lot.
of the physical therapy.
Yeah, in fact, I got the green card from the registered mail back just today for that property. So he's got his corrective order notice. He's received it.
Okay,
And we've
That's
run
one.
transients out of there 3 or 4 times in the last couple of weeks.
That's the Food Galaxy property we're talking about.
Yes.
Right? And that's one we're working on with the ownership right about transferring that, but there's some LLC questions on it. Yeah. LLC doesn't exist anymore.
okay. So do you need approval of this list?
I think it's.
Yeah, kind of, but we were submitting this saying, here's our plan of action. Here's our direction we're moving. And that's, we developed that based on what we talked about before of burnt properties and city-owned properties being moved to the head of the list.
Okay. So is there a motion to
Thank
proceed with the prioritization list of dilapidated buildings for tear down? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next, Amneal opioid settlement agreement.
All right, this is maybe the last one of these. But it's just another settlement within that opioid
Right.
series of opioid settlements that the Attorney General and a couple other law firms have negotiated. This one is from Amneal, and the lady that I was talking to about this one, she seems to think that, I think a question was posed here maybe last council meeting. When are we getting the money from all this stuff, or the whatever from all this stuff? And I asked this lady, the Miss Chafin, and she seemed to indicate that possibly by the end of the year we could have, I want to use the phrase opioid money or opioid resources coming in. I think August the 1st was the general target date to get all of these election and release forms in from all these different localities. And then they were going to try to move forward quickly to get money to whoever gets the money and whatever amount that is. I don't have an amount off the top of my head. it could be, I don't even want to speculate. It's not going to be $1 million, but I don't think it's going to be $0.
10.
So it might be 10, it might be,
Yeah,
it might,
by the
it
time
might be
it gets
10,000. I don't
divvied
know. But I'll try to run some numbers and get something back to you.
Thank you.
But that's what this is.
I think having a spreadsheet with all these different agreements that we've signed and understanding that a little bit better would be helpful
Yeah.
to us.
Not any about programs. Yeah, program.
There's I'm making up a number, 20 different ways you can use this money. And
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and go into Mayor Marco in Elkins. A couple of months ago, he reached out and he wanted to put together like a drug task force team to come up with good ideas for the opioid settlement money. And so we did that. And then Governor Justice came out with West Virginia First. And that also deals statewide with the opioid monies. So I think each county, city are divided into regions, and there might be like 9 counties in our region, which includes Harrison and Mon. They're the largest. And then the smaller ones, I think Barber, Randolph, Upshur, Lewis, Gilmer. And so they were talking about at this last West Virginia First meeting that the monies would be divided up and it's based on population. So they are going to be hiring a director and because Governor Justice is requiring them to have an approved board of directors. So I think each region gets to choose a representative. So at the regional drug task force meeting, the counties and cities got together and they put together like 4 names of people that everyone agreed on who they thought was really good and may be considered if they weren't already on the governor's short list, because he has that list as well. And there's going to be a mandatory West Virginia First meeting in Morgantown on the 13th. And someone from the county has to go and vote. Someone from the city of Weston, city or town of Jane Lou, they also have to go and vote at that time for the director for our area. I don't know how all that's going to turn out. It seems rather confusing.
The director of West Virginia First, is that what you're saying?
I think it's the director to serve on the board of directors that would represent this area. I think that's
What is the purpose of West Virginia First? That
to deal with the opioid settlement funds and coming up with the programs,
okay.
what is needed.
The
in
state
here.
side, the state portion of funds or everybody's funds?
I thought everybody's funds, but that has not been made clear, so I can't tell you with any certainty.
That's what I kind of think. I don't know.
And are we
We're all
mandated to
required
join that?
to.
we'll look into that. I'm not
Participate.
I'm not convinced it goes to the state. I thought we had some kind of control over what we. Let me make sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last meeting, the concern was who the representative, who the director was going to be, and making sure that it was someone who would represent our county and our city. That is well known and respected. And knows the law enforcement aspect and the recovery and programs associated with the opioids. The only name I knew who was submitted was Dr. Snuffer. Pardon? So, but that's all I know. I'll probably know more after the 13th.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I
No,
don't.
that's fine. I just.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Amneal opioid settlement agreement. Looking for a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the fiscal year 23-24 911 and dispatch services, $39,600. Is that the same rate?
That remains the same.
Are we current on our payments to
I
them?
think as far as I know, if we're not, we've missed a month or two because we've set up a system where we generate our own invoice and pay it each month and send that to the county commission.
That's great.
Brian, I have a question. Do I need to recuse myself from this because it is with the county?
What are we actually, what are we, are we taking a vote on? What are we taking a vote on? Like paying for a service?
Yes.
City to pay the 911 dispatch fees.
I don't think there's any way you're personally going to benefit from this vote.
No.
Oh. Nah, recuse just in case.
Okay.
I want to avoid any appearance of impropriety.
Well,
Feel comfortable.
I'll
That's
recuse
fine.
myself from that.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the dispatch agreement for $39,600?
I move to approve the 911 dispatch services for the fiscal year 2023-2024 for an amount of $39,000.
Okay, is there a second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We're taking it from your flower fund.
I'm not.
Sale of street department paver, $1,000 minimum action requested.
We've got an old paver at the street department. We left off the surplus sale because we wanted to see if we could salvage it and give Joe a little bit more time to look at it. And his report, I think, has been no thanks, right? And so he inquired, I think, at Stouts about being able to salvage or what the salvage value would be, and they thought about $1,000. And so we thought we'd just offer it up for bid as surplus equipment and have a reserve of $1,000. And if that's not met, then we'll take it to Stouts and salvage it and try to get as much out as we can.
Could I get a motion to that effect?
I move to allow for bids to be over the sell at a street department paper with a minimum reserve bid of $1,000.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? We'll have voting by roll call.
Councilwoman Sherry Rogers.
Aye.
Councilman Steve White.
Aye.
I don't hear him.
Councilwoman Debbie Gump. Councilman Kurt Curtis.
Okay, motion carries. Put a date together.
Yeah.
So that we could have a work session, and I think it would be a good opportunity to bring the new council member up to speed on what we have been working on.
Can we do that next week and mesh that with the budget discussion as well? Is that okay? Probably makes it an hour and a half, 2-hour meeting, but
What date?
Tuesday, the 11th looks like my free night or Monday. 'Cause we have planning commission on Wednesday and then HLC on Thursday, it looks like maybe.
You all free Monday, Tuesday? What's your?
Monday or Tuesday works for me as well.
Pardon? Okay, you want to try for Monday?
Sure.
At 6 or early? Can we do earlier starting since we're gonna?
Joe, do you know Steve's schedule? Is he okay in the evenings on Monday and Tuesday?
Yeah, Monday
that
and
discussion
Tuesday
with him, I
next
think.
week works.
Yeah. He's unmuted himself. I think he's trying to speak to us.
I'll say 6 p.m. if that's okay with you all.
Okay, and if we need to change just
We
to
can,
accommodate him, just let us know.
we'll do. That's Tuesday, Monday.
Monday.
Monday's right.
All right. City manager request for vacation in July.
I'm slated to be back at Marshall Islands for at least a week, but I don't think I won't be there August and September and October. And so I was hoping to squeeze a second week out if you guys would approve that. And by handbook, anything over a week has to be approved by council. So I'm here to make that request. And my dates would be looking at July 17th through the 28th.
Discussion, or would someone like to make a motion to approve vacation for the 17th through the 28th?
Thanks to the policy revision last meeting. Yes.
I'm making a motion if you would like. Okay, is there a second? It's been moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. And next on the schedule are reappointments of city officials. The council are responsible for reappointing city manager, city attorney, city clerk, and finance director. Would you prefer that we take those individually, Brian?
Yeah, let's do them individually. Well, I guess it doesn't matter.
Whatever.
How would you like to record them, city clerk?
That would be fine.
Okay.
Can I just make mention? I think he's the finance manager by charter, not finance. I know we've got it on the agenda as
Oh,
director, but I
okay.
think it is the finance manager. Remember the charter, right?
Did that other city clerk type that in there? Okay, we'll begin with the city manager. To reappoint or? Is there a second? It's been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, city attorney.
Move to reappoint. Last hand.
It's all right.
The upcoming year. City of
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And next, city clerk, that would be Judy Piercy. Debbie Gone. I think she's pretty near perfect, so there.
I'll move to reappoint Judy Pierce as the city clerk.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And next, finance manager, Joe Solberg.
I'll move to appoint Joe Solberg to the finance manager position.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there a second? It's been
I
moved and
second.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Oh, great. Thank you all very much. Under correspondence communications, Weston Central Neighborhood Watch. We did receive certificates of appreciation. Judy made copies for the city of Weston and Weston City Council for our contributions and our participation. It was.
Thank
Pardon?
you.
Thank you.
That was very thoughtful.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. And then under B was West Virginia First, and I've already
Covered
discussed
that.
that. As soon as I attend that meeting on the 13th, and if Brian should happen to get more information before I do, we'll try to share that. I think it has everyone's head swimming. Nobody really knows.
I Googled them and I couldn't find anything on the Google, that's why I was wondering what they were.
Well, they talked about how they were going to be withholding $30 million from that settlement funds for attorney fees. So automatically, I thought Brian already knew about it.
I don't think they meant our attorney fees.
No.
Yeah.
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 Next, under city council reports, I passed out my mayor's report for the month of June. I just wanted to make mention, I have been forgetting, I did that WHAW broadcast on June 3rd. And Steve would really like for us to come regularly to do advertisements. And we should get up there about the facade grant program. So I didn't know if that's something that you wanted to do, but please feel free to go and do that.
Does that mean we get to do swap shop?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Sounds fun.
Did I ever tell you guys about our ad program that we had going on and the Berkeley County Commission? Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, but go ahead and refresh our memory.
No, maybe I just told Sherry and didn't tell everybody else, but we started an ad campaign and I asked department heads to do it, and some have done it and some haven't. But most, a solid half got up there and read an ad for the radio based on their department. And so I'm gonna give Marty all the credit here. Marty developed an ad, went up there and read it as the city's code enforcement officer and said, "Hey, we're trying to keep the town clean." And I'm paraphrasing, did a lot better job than I'm doing, but keep the town clean. And I'm Marty Lewis and love to work with you, blah, 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 good stuff. 30 seconds. I don't know, the ad maybe ran week and a half. I get a call from Berkeley County, from their county administrator, wanting to know which firm we'd hire to develop the ads that they'd heard on the radio station. One of their county commissioners had been down to listen to the governor's State of the State speech. And so he went down there, listened to the governor, drove all the way back up. And the only thing he remembered was hearing Marty's ad, he said, on the radio. And he thought that was a great ad. And he wanted to do something similar in Berkeley County for their departments and stuff like that. And so that was the hope, was to get the word out there about Weston, and that caught his attention, and it was something we heard some feedback on. So we're going to continue to try to do that in this next year to get some different ads out there based on our city services and the things we offer, and would love, council to be engaged in that too, and do that kind of thing. So,
And if you have ideas and don't necessarily have time to do the ad, just throw them out there and we'll,
find somebody to record them.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
He's got an excellent radio voice.
On June the 6th, Nate and I went with Mayor Straley to meet with the Sutton Gasaway elected officials. And it was really a good meeting. I mean, we learned about struggles they're having that are similar to ours, and maybe ways that we could possibly help each other. And I think it was a good opportunity to join forces with Mayor Straley. She really appreciated that time. On June the 15th, we met with Jessica Carr with the Homeless Coalition. She was here at last month's meeting, and I believe that the staff have already called her. Okay.
We have an individual in town that's trying to get back and put it on highway, so we solicit her to try to help that work. The information. She was unsuccessful getting in there, but while doing the she got something else.
Great. And we've had several people come in corporate park. I think Mike sent a couple.
Okay, good.
Hmm.
On July the 24th at 6 p.m. at Lambert's, Region 7 Planning and Development Council is having their annual meeting. So feel free to attend that. I will be with Jean, so I won't be able to attend that evening. But then the West Virginia Municipal League Annual Conference is the next week up until August the 3rd. So I will be attending that.
Mayor, do you remember off the schedule? There's a newly elected official, not that you guys are newly elected, but they offer a training, and it's not
on Thursday.
Is that on Thursday? And it's like an hour or 2 hours of training, and that I'd recommend going to that, if anything, for that conference. But if you have time, go the whole thing. And the city, will take care of council's registration fee. That I think the registration needs to be done here relatively soon.
Yeah, they're getting ready to close the window on registration.
Right.
But it is at Ogilvy, and that's just a great venue to have the conferences. They're good.
Yeah. Let us know if you have any interest in that. We'll try to get you hooked up.
Okay, that's all I have. Ward 1.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to congratulate everyone on their election results and welcome them back. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and I look forward to serving the next few years with you in the next term. Thank you. I wanted to remind everyone about the facade grant at the coffee house tomorrow evening at 5:30. I thought it was at 6 initially, but 5:30. And thank you, Mayor Harrison Edwards, for the refreshments and providing the venue for us for that discussion. First half of the evening will be about the facade grant, and the second half will be an update about the Columbia Club and progress that we've made on that building and that project. Another thing I wanted to do, I wanted to thank everyone for working so hard on the Carp Festival. That was truly a community effort. Liz Solaris, thank you very much. I see you back here in the crowd. You guys worked so hard on that, and it was a lovely festival with many, many events. I know our street department, law enforcement, administrative staff, Marty, everybody worked real hard on all of these festivals. The Carp Festival, the fire department, Independence Day celebration. Saw everyone pulling together as a team and working hard, and these events have been very successful. And I just want you to know that I certainly appreciate it. Law enforcement, I really appreciate everything that you do. I know somehow you find time to help us and support us in our endeavors with these festivals, and we appreciate it. Summer concert series, I know all of staff has been very, very busy with that. I also wanted to just relay some of the positive comments that I keep receiving from my ward and citizens in other wards about what we're doing within the city of Weston. I've received positive comments on our streets, the way they look, the maintenance that we're providing on every department. I have received a lot of compliments, and I just appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Speaking of music concert series, is it possible to get a signboard at Polk property to announce like maybe a few days before? We did that last year. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Is Stephen with us, Joe?
He is, but as he is trying to unmute his mic to speak, it doesn't seem to be coming through very well. 'Cause he did try to vote earlier. When he did roll call. Let's see, he's unmuted now. Let's see if we can hear him. Stephen, are you? able to
Yeah,
speak
I'm
with
here.
us?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're able to hear me.
I guess not. Okay, we'll move on to Ward 3.
Wow, Councilwoman Rogers kind of talked about everything. So I'm sitting there going, okay, well, she took that, she took that, she took that, she took that. So, first of all, I'd like to congratulate everybody on their reappointments and my fellow council members here, and plus our council member, our newly elected, our new member of our team. I will say it's kind of different not following Councilman Bowen and the Bowen philosophy. So I will say it's kind of missed tonight, but I do wish him well in his endeavors moving forward. I will also echo the sentiments of Councilwoman Rogers and thanking all of our staff for all their hard work during the many festivals that we've had in downtown Weston. I also would like to commend our code enforcement.
Working it all together. Ever since we were little kids, we always heard. That's the philosophy we look forward to have. So we get more done as a team. I'm looking forward to my next term, being officially elected to the council and getting these big projects finalized. Look forward to the results.
I'd just like to congratulate everyone on their reappointments and thank all the city staff and employees for all their hard work over the last month or so. Would like to thank Chief Mike Posey and Code Enforcement Officer Marty Lewis on taking care of the homeless issue I had in Ward 4 over behind the Garden Plaza there. And I'd like to congratulate Mr. Steve White as well and his being elected to Ward 2 as a councilman. And with that, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? A second. It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?